Oh, hello and welcome to the Heretics podcast. Today we are talking about Sully's passage.
Why are you saying it like that? Okay, anyways. My passage is John 4, verses 4 through 26. The Samaritan woman. Jesus had to pass through Samaria, so we came to a town in Samaria called Sychar, near the plot of land that Jacob had given to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there. Jesus, tired from his journey, sat down there at the well. It was about noon. A woman of Samaria came to draw water. Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink." His disciples had gone into town to buy food. The Samaritan woman said to him, "How can you, a Jew, ask me, a Samaritan woman, for a drink?" For Jews had nothing in common with Samaritans. Jesus answered and said to her, "If you knew the gift of God, who is saying to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." The woman said to him, "Sir, you do not even have a bucket, and the well is deep. Where then can you give this living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us this well and drank from it himself, with his children and his flocks?" Jesus answered and said to her, "Everyone who drinks the water from this well will be thirsty again. Whatever drinks the water I shall give will never thirst. The water I shall give will become in him a spring of water welling up to eternal life." The woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water, so that I may not be thirsty, or have to keep coming here to draw water." Jesus said to her, "Go call your husband and come back." The woman answered and said to him, "I do not have a husband." Jesus answered her, "You are right in saying I do not have a husband. For you have had 5 husbands, and the one you have now is not your husband. What you have said is true." The woman said to him, "Sir, I can see that you are a prophet. Our ancestors worshipped on this mountain, but you people say that the place of worship is in Jerusalem." Jesus said to her, "Believe me, woman, the hour is coming when you will worship the Father neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. Your people will worship what you do not understand. We worship what we understand, because salvation is from the Jews. But the hour is coming, and is now here, when true worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and truth. And indeed, the Father seeks such people to worship him. God is spirit, and those who worship must worship in spirit and truth." The woman said to him, "I know that the Messiah is coming, the one called Anointed. When he comes, he will tell us everything." Jesus said to her, "I am he, the one who is speaking to you." This passage means a lot of things. For starters, Jesus asked a Samaritan woman. Now, back in Jesus' times, especially from the Jews, the Samaritans were not very respected. So most Jews would shun them. It's a part of their whole legalism and nationalism thing that they have going on, where they just will not accept you disobeying the law at all. They will shun you from their cities.
Yeah, for the Jews, if you weren't perfect, you did something wrong, and you had some problems. Like, you sinned, and God was punishing you because you were not perfect. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, don't
Just
worry.
came up in my head.
I want to point out, the woman immediately after hearing Jesus speak called him a prophet.
Yeah.
And that's just because Jesus, he is people can just tell just by looking at him and just hearing him speak that he is more important than just a regular man, more spiritually sound than most people were back then.
They could hear his divinity each time he spoke, pretty much. Is that what you're saying?
That's
It's kind of like
exactly.
when you talk to a teacher. You can kind of like tell they have that hint of authority.
They have that authority and intelligence.
Yeah, like a higher level.
You can tell.
They understand what they're teaching and what they're saying most of the time.
Yeah.
And Jesus reveals to this woman very bluntly, not like through a story, but very bluntly, that he is the Messiah, and the woman accepts this a little later in the story. I didn't mention it, I didn't read it here for time's sake. A little later in the story, the woman goes into town and preaches he's the Messiah, showing that Jesus is, that people can tell that he's the Messiah, that he's powerful. And now I'd like to say how that relates to teens in the modern day. See, a lot of people who don't understand Jesus, a lot of them just quite simply don't look for him. They just turn a blind eye and just don't even try to understand him. They will not read the Bible, or they won't even think of the idea that Jesus might
Yeah.
be a prophet or a savior.
Yeah, that he was like, they're seeing him as if he was so much older and greater than him, instead of him as if he was right here, right now with us.
Yeah.
So they're like, just, oh, that happened years and years ago. He's up in heaven, just watching over us, instead of he's right here with us, standing next to us, and he's with everybody, in everybody, helping everybody like be happier, feel better, feel
Yeah.
more connected.
He is with us.
He is with
In
us.
the passage it says like a spring of like everlasting or eternal water. What do you think that really means? Like what he's trying to say?
Because like there's a lot of symbolism with water, especially with Jesus and in Judaism. So like obviously Jesus would use that as it's very familiar. That's a thing Jesus loved to do. But like what it really means is like as you accept him, your love and faith will grow, and that will lead to eternal salvation in heaven. That's kind of like what I think he's saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
water back then was hard to get, and so it was just like, if you have it, it's this great thing because it's super hard and it's just something everybody needs and wants. So having a lot of water meant it was you were rich
Yeah.
and were full on life because you were able to survive easily.
So everyone was kind of looking
For
for.
water,
Yeah.
seeing it as life, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Jesus, of course, made that very much more real through baptism and through his words.
Yeah.
And another way it relates to us is Jesus is like our teacher, and we're just the students who he's teaching that everybody in this passage, that everybody is the same and that everybody is equal, to be brought together and drink from one well where it'll bring us the gift of life and stuff.
Yeah.
All right, now it is time for our sponsorship
Yeah.
segment. Yep. So our sponsor is a guy called
Apollinaris of Laodicea. Now, us being the Heretics podcast, we love our fair share of heretics. And this is a very important heresy. Back in the ancient days, there's this thing back in the old days called a council, where a bunch of like really important bishops and people would get together and like discuss heresy. And this guy caused one of those councils. That just shows just how
Council
much
of Nicaea, right?
Council of Nicaea.
Yep,
You're
yep.
correct. Good job.
He basically said, you know what? I feel like I'm special and I need my own thing. Jesus is not equal to God. Jesus is
similar. but
Similar.
not-
He's the Son of God. He has the powers of God, but he's also part man. That is not bringing Jesus to his true divinity. While in reality, because he is the Son of God, he is fully divine. But because he was born by Mary, a human, he is fully human.
Yeah.
And
So we can be both at once.
so yeah, his spirit in heaven, something I think is, and they don't have like an actual. He didn't have like an actual body, so his spirit is like fully divine, which makes him fully divine, while he was born in a human body, which makes him fully human.
Yeah.
He caused an entire month of a bunch of these bishops just talking about this. I personally think that's kind of crazy. I could never make that happen. The only time that ever happens is when the Pope is being elected. So that just shows how much this guy just did.
Good job,
Big deal.
Apollinarius.
Good job,
Thank you
Apollinarius.
for sponsoring us.
Thank you for the kind sponsoring of Eternal Damnation.
All right, on to our second passage. It is the wedding at Cana, John 2:1. On the third day, there was a wedding in Cana in Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Jesus and his disciples were also invited to the wedding. When the wine ran short, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, how does your concern affect me? My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servers, "Do whatever he tells you." Now there were 6 stone water jars there for the Jewish ceremonial washings, each holding 20 to 30 gallons. Jesus told them, fill the jars with water, so they filled them to the brim. Then he told them, "Draw some out and now take it to the head waiter." So they took it. And when the head waiter tasted the water that had become wine, without knowing where it had came from, although the servers that John the water knew, the head waiter called the bridegroom and said to him, "Everyone serves good wine first, and then when people have drunk freely an inferior one, but you kept the good wine until now. Jesus did this as the beginning of his signs in Cana and Galilee. So he revealed his story, and his disciples began to believe him. After this, he and his mother, his brothers, and his disciples went down to Capernaum and stayed there only a few days.
Capernaum.
Same thing.
All right. So like, what does this passage mean there, Carson?
So it was his first miracle, what we believe is his first miracle, and it was a small miracle that his mother Mary had to nudge him into.
Like Jesus had to like, Jesus
shoved
resisted.
Yeah.
Jesus was like,
Which is crazy. If I ever said that to my mother, I would not be seen from. Again, I'd be gone.
Yeah.
Evaporated.
I think most people here can say that if they ever called their mother's
Woman.
for them
Man.
telling them to do something, they'd be in huge trouble. It's just like-
Gone.
That'd be a
Yep.
tough one.
Gone from life. There ain't no coming back from that
Now,
one thing.
this kind of Jesus resisting kind of shows like in our lives we may need a nudge to use our talents and abilities
And
for
that
good.
Yeah.
we might resist
Yeah.
Yeah.
those calls. But like we still do need to do these things.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
still important.
There are times when I need, so I play games with friends, and there are times when I'm just like, I don't want to do this, and they nudge me forward and help me get past that little burnt out spot I had, and it's just,
Sometimes we just need a little nudging.
yeah.
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 We all have our talents. We
And
just gotta use
we
them.
need to respect our mothers.
Yeah.
We need to do
Yes.
that.
Don't call your mother woman.
As
would be
much
very
as
bad.
we say follow what Jesus says,
Don't follow that one.
just ignore that one part of it.
That one part.
Yeah, this relates to us in that, well, we've already kind of done this in explanation, that we will need a nudge sometimes to achieve the greatness we have within.
A lot
So
of potential. Just needs someone to like push it over the edge. You know?
there are a lot of stories where I mostly just know baseball stories because I'm a huge baseball nerd, and there are a lot of famous baseball people that wouldn't have done baseball if somebody in their life was like, just try it out, go on, you're good, try it out, and stuff. Anybody else have anything?
I'd like to say, just like it's all about like in the modern age we do need a lot of nudging, but a lot of times we must recognize when nudging comes from a bad place, not just from a good. Because sometimes we can be nudged in the wrong direction, like
Temptation.
or like being offered drugs at a party. That's
Yeah.
not a good nudge.
That's
a
Bad nudge.
That's a no bueno. We don't want that.
Yeah. So yeah,
It's
there
kind of
are,
cringe to do drugs, in my
there-
opinion.
Stay away from drugs.
yeah. Stay safe, kids. So yeah, there are good nudges and bad nudges. Most of the time, the good nudges will be like do a miracle in Jesus' case, or help somebody out, continue on your career path. And then there's gonna be bad drugs like
Bad nudges, you mean? not
yeah,
drugs?
bad
Bad nudges, like
bad
drugs.
nudges, bad nudges like drugs,
Eat
stuff
nugs,
like
not
that.
drugs. Do nugs, not drugs.
Alright.
All right, is that all?
I think that's it for
Well,
today.
signing off for now.
All right.
Thank
See
you for
next
listening.
time.